And like a good neighbor, the Plano D was sure there when they needed them to be. Now, we'll try to recapitulate this game as best we can, pointing out the highlights. Let's just say Plano West has a 17-0 lead as we're ending the third period when outstanding running back from North Mesquite, Joe Bergeron, scores from 2 yards out. That makes it 17-7 as we wind down 3 periods of play. Fourth period, Plano West is standing in against the North Mesquite team that seems to pull off one miracle after another, including a 26-yard touchdown pass right down to Chris Butler, I believe it was, at the, to make it 17-14. Okay, Plano West is still looking pretty good at this point. Now, after a series of turnovers, it ends up the folks from North Mesquite are about to try a 46-yard field goal with time winding down less than a minute when all of a sudden they're penalized 5 yards. Now it's a 52-yard field goal or so. They decide to go for it on fourth down. They throw a Hail Mary down to the goal line, and down the goal line, Desmond Lewis comes up with the football at the 1-yard line. I thought for a second he had spun into the end zone, but they kept him out. He was probably at the 1-foot line. Now, you want to talk about dodging an M16. The Plano West defense gets out there with probably about between 53 and 49 seconds remaining in the football game. We're looking at first and goal from about the 1-foot line with four downs to run of that. Bergeron carries the football. Plano West with the surge. They keep him out of the end zone. That brings up second down. They fumble the football back to the 3. Okay, now we're looking at third down. Well, we're looking at second down from the ball's at the 3 now, but we're looking at a third down play. They fumble it again. Okay, they're going to just try the field goal and see if they can tie it up and send it into overtime. As time winds down, Plano West blocks the field goal. Plano West gets off death row, winning this one 17-14. Adam, I really cannot say I've ever been at a game that for about 3 quarters was really just kind of monotone and boring that turned into one of the most exciting games you will ever see.
It's really an undescribable way that this game finished that you just went through and tried to talk about it. I'll tell you what, Kevin, each and every time that North Mesquite was faced with a daunting task, that they had the knockout punch right in front of them. They were woozy. A big body blow had been delivered by Plano West. It looked like the Stallions were down and out for the count. They come up with the same exact play each and every time, and it worked each and every time. 3 times looked like they were done for. Every time they throw the lob to the back corner of the end zone, the front corner, and every time there's a defender in between the football and the receiver. Every single time the receiver goes up and over the defender, making the catch and keeping North Mesquite in this football game, keeping their hopes alive. They almost pull this thing out. They give themselves a chance to tie it with seconds to go, and they can't get the field goal off. They've got a top-notch kicker in Byron Campos, and they are just unable to tie this football game up. Plano West stays undefeated. Quite frankly, I don't know how.
Well, I'll tell you what, this game had so many twists and turns. For example, when Plano West recovered, they didn't recover the onside kick. But when North Mesquite tried an onside kick and kicked it out of bounds, you figure that's it. And all of a sudden, North Mesquite gets a takeaway on a handoff. They're able to, rip the ball out of the ball carrier's hands and return it about 20 yards. They're in business again. It's like every time, if you're Mike Hughes and his staff, you're saying, my goodness, these people have more lives than a cat because they just keep coming at you. And like I said, I really don't think I've ever been to a football game where for about 3 quarters it was one of the most, I'm not going to say boring, but kind of monotone, taking care of business type deals.
It wasn't exactly pretty football.
It wasn't exactly pretty, but it really looked like Plano West was in no danger for 3 quarters.
No, none whatsoever.
And then all of a sudden, North Mesquite rose like a phoenix and they're able to nearly win this football game. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what they're going to do with that defense for Plano West. But those boys need to be taken out for a huge celebration, because you want to talk about being in a situation where you're like the on-call trauma surgeon at the local emergency room, where you just got to get in there and make the best out of it. You know, I mean, they're looking at a minute left to play, and their opponent has a first and goal from the 1 foot line. 4 shots to stick it in the end zone. They've got 2 timeouts to deal with. Somehow or another, the Plano West defense, you know, you can say fumbles on North Mesquite. Well, maybe that was a little bit of the intensity of the Plano West defense. Somehow or another, the Plano West defense kept them off the scoreboard, and they really need to be commended for that.
And I tell you what, it all goes back to what we were talking about pregame. If they could just corral Joe Bergeron, and what happens the first play on the goal line, they stuff Bergeron, and he doesn't get a chance to touch the football again. A tremendous job by this Plano West defense. It's what this program has been built on, and it's what they showcased here tonight. Going into district play, going into 8-5A, the entire district has to pay attention to what Plano West didn't allow Joe Bergeron to do tonight, the top recruit in the entire state, #1 player, it seems like, in the area, averaging over 200 yards on the ground per game coming into tonight, and he is just silenced from the start to the finish by this Plano West defense. That's the story for Plano West coming in and out of this ball game. It was, could the defense hold up? Could they do what seemed to be the unstoppable? And the answer is yes, they stuff Joe Bergeron. On the other side, North Mesquite, when you've got 6 turnovers, you have no business winning a football game, and they